Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Hi. What a
Hey,
wonderful
everybody.
time we have. You look very well coiffed right now, Eddie.
Thank you. I have a bald spot I'm trying to cover up. It's just,
Oh,
you
I
know.
don't think I can't tell at all. You look
Really?
so
It
well,
looks really bald right there.
so well coiffed. I see
You should put a
nothing.
hat on.
By the way, I've been dealing with a major bald spot for almost a few years now, and it's really okay. It's not that bad. Now you think it's just the two
Yes.
of us, but
Of course. Who else would it
I
be?
believe Cody. Are you there?
Yes,
Is Cody
hi.
there?
Oh, hey,
It's
Cody.
Cody. It's Cody. Hi.
I mean
Hi.
Buzzsaw. I mean Buzzsaw.
Buzzsaw. Dynamo. He sings opera music. He shoots electricity out of his hand.
Why do those go together? They just
They
do.
just do. That's the one thing they kept from the Stephen King book, by the way, was Dynamo. Really, Dynamo was a much bigger player in the original short story. Oh, man. So, we're talking Eddie, can we say sci-fi classic? Action sci-fi masterpiece?
I believe when we talked about this off air, we called it between you and me an all-timer.
An all-timer, and it was the running. Real quick, before we get any further, let's do what Eddie and I have been dying to say. When it comes to Cobra, here's why we think Cobra might be better than we even initially said.
Right.
Because you could
There's
drop,
so many layers to Cobra.
you could drop anything that happens in Running Man in the middle of Cobra, and nobody bats an eye.
You don't bat an eye.
If Stallone has to fight Sub-Zero out of the blue, you're like, okay. If the fucking giant eagles from Lord of the Rings show up to help him at the end of, you're like, yep, I'm in. Cobra leaves the door wide open for anything to happen.
If he's in that opening scene in the grocery store, if Howard the Duck is in an aisle, you don't bat an eye.
Yeah, got me here.
Yeah, of course
I'm
Howard
here.
the Duck is there.
This is Cobra. So that was just one quick thing of why Cobra might be the most superior film of all
It's
time.
it's the technology they used to develop the COVID vaccine with the rDNA or whatever, where they
Right.
can just drop in whatever it is into that sequence and it cures. It comes
works.
up with a
Cobra works.
Cobra is the COVID vaccine.
Yes, you throw anything into Cobra, and you're like, I'm in.
And it works. It
nobody
just
goes.
works.
Nobody goes. Wait a minute. Nope, you're in. If his car turns into an Autobot halfway through the movie, and you're like, yeah, okay,
You're like, of course it does.
of course it would. But let's get down to business. The Running Man. Man, was this Schwarzenegger's science fiction peak, Eddie?
Well, I mean-
Predator, over Terminator 2. Was
Total
this-
Recall?
Total Recall. I don't know.
I don't know. They're
Man.
all so good.
They're all so good. Now, one thing I was a little bit wrong in. This movie doesn't do a little bit of making fun of the future of entertainment. It does a lot of it. It just doesn't do it as gnarly as Stephen King did. It's not as depressing as the Stephen King.
No,
version.
it was the spoonful of sugar there to help all that bad medicine go down.
But I thought one thing that still holds up is the climbing for money commercial where the guy's on the rope trying to get cash while rabid dogs are just eating him. Like then everyone's like, oh, it's climbing for dollars.
But are we that far off nowadays?
We're not.
We're
Look
not.
at this shit. Survivor, you put people on an island to fuck, and it's like,
Yeah.
all right, like it's just like it's really not.
Instead of
that-
rabid dogs, it's just crabs.
It's crabs. You watch Naked and Afraid, hoping one of them get eaten. That's why you watch that show.
Right.
It's like, and then the other thing that I still think holds up is when Maria Conchita Alonso and her coworker are at the soda machine, and it's $6 for a Coke. And the lady's like putting $6 worth of quarters in.
Dude,
to
we're
a
about
vending
3
machine.
years from that.
3 years away.
A Coke now is what, $1.50?
$1.50.
$2.75 maybe?
$2.75. We're close to the $6 for a can.
Back then, Coke was 50 cents, and people were like,
50 cents.
$6.
That's what made the joke so funny back then. You're like, oh man, still holds up.
Yep.
Still holds up. Man, Cody, your thoughts? You know what Eddie and I think. We're already here.
All-timer.
All timer.
Well, let's go with observations, right? That's what
Yeah.
that's what I always do here.
Yep.
So, observation 1, clearly nobody could act in the 80s. and we just accepted it, right? That's how it was, right? Like because Arnold Schwarzenegger has like big muscles, everyone was like, yeah, this is fine to like barely understand what he's saying, have his entire dialogue just be puns for 40 years.
That's why you went to see an Arnold movie.
Cody, how bad was his acting in that opening scene? These are just people wanting food. These are women and children. I'm not going to hell with you.
Like he has to be reading off of cue cards off of the scene. Like it's like he's reading it for the first time every
Modern
time
day
he says,
Marlon Brando. Modern day Marlon
Marlon
Brando.
Brando.
He is such a bad actor that it is insane to me.
How do you know
that
that's
this
not?
guy
How do you
is
know
in
that's not what the
movies?
character wanted? That was not what the character
Maybe that's
wanted.
what the character
So that's what the
wanted.
character wants in every movie he's ever done, ever?
So it is interesting, Cody, to your point that must have been the first time, because the only time he's comfortable delivering dialogue, like you said, is the need a lift. He had to split. You know, all of that
When he's doing his puns, he's in his comfort zone, and
That's his wheelhouse, baby.
He's fine, but anytime they make him say words, it's kind of tricky.
Okay, but Richard Dawson, I think, saves this movie. In all serious film criticness, Richard Dawson saves it from being as bad as Cobra, I think.
Yeah.
Richard Dawson is so good as the evil slimeball villain. He just completely rescues the acting in that
But
film.
is that a bad thing when Richard Dawson is the best actor in your film?
It might be. It might be.
The former game show host of the Family Feud.
Hey,
is
Hogan's
the be-
Heroes.
is
Hogan's
the best.
Heroes. He cut his teeth on Hogan's
True,
Heroes, man.
true.
He was
But his fame is from Family
his
Feud.
Family Feud and
It
still
was, yeah. I mean, the thing about it is that he. It's a different take on like if you just knew him from Family Feud, and I
Right.
imagine there's a lot of people who, in that
back
generation
then,
that did.
especially. That's what I knew him from. Yeah.
That there's that little bit of like, oh, you're getting to see him do like a villain that is
Yes.
and that's like a legitimately interesting thing, and by far the best thing in the movie, like not even close.
Okay,
the best thing in the movie.
you know what I think is a sad statement about this film, and I don't think Yaphet Kotto counts because he's great and everything, but he's only in it for like 10 minutes, right? But I would go the ranking of acting is Dawson's number one, Yaphet Kotto and the nerdy guy who are also trapped with him.
Yeah.
are
And then
tied
Jesse
for two of the-
Ventura.
Jesse Ventura. And you know who was really good with, and the oddity of Mick Fleetwood playing himself. Mick Fleetwood, the drummer from Fleetwood Mac, plays himself in that it predated the Postman movie where Tom Petty played himself.
Yeah.
And Kevin Costner. Where, because you hear him, they call him Mick, and he says, they destroyed all my music. That's the one thing he's talking, like, he's literally supposed to be Mick Fleetwood, the drummer from Fleetwood Mac, who is now leading an underground resistance with Frank Zappa's son, who does...
This movie's
somehow-
amazing.
Somehow, Dweezil Zappa is the worst performer in the entire movie when he storms in his one line, "Don't touch that dial." Like, it was so fucking like, what is... But it is, look, Cody, I just, words can't explain what this meant to a 10-year-old whenever
Look,
this came out.
Let me
So good.
let me tell you my other observation. That's my complete, like, if you really want a, like, God bless me for doing this, but like an actual film criticism of it, it is a very pale, rudimentary version of a John Carpenter movie.
It is,
And it's-
absolutely.
and it feels like someone watched a John Carpenter movie and was like, "Hey, I can do that," and then made
That is a
this.
great question. That's a great point. It reeks of something that he was offered, right? Or it
Yeah.
just smells like it was an idea, like he wanted to make the Stephen King story. But
Yeah.
now the
it's
Stephen,
like it's like it tries to build. It does that sort of world building that like Escape from New York does,
Yeah.
where
Yep.
it's like that, like the gritty underground kind of dystopian
Yes.
thing. Down to like the music. It's I
Yep.
mean, it's Faltermeyer, but it's
Just
it's very
bursts
and the
of-
similar.
soundtrack
bursts
is
of-
good.
Just bursts of fire out of
Yes,
nowhere
Yeah.
for no
yes.
reason.
I do like the Faltermeyer soundtrack. I think it's a really good soundtrack. Like, it's definitely of its time, but I think it works still. Like, it's still cool to listen to. I love the John Parr closing song. What was that one? The two hearts need love, or whatever the fuck that was. But yeah, like but it does. It has that weird. It really is. It's like Cody said. You take a base level homage to Escape from New York, and you mix it with a very base level homage of RoboCop, where it kind of makes fun of society and how it's like you have that one woman on the Jumbotron when Schwarzenegger's walking the building where she's basically encouraging children to rat out their parents who might be part of the resistance.
Yeah.
Like that, just funny little things like that, I think save the movie from some god-awful performances. But I saw this when I was 10 and I loved it. I thought it was the coolest thing ever with Sub-Zero. Like just the fact that it was like a video game. It's like different like bosses that he has to fight.
Different boss levels you have to get through to get out.
And then Jim Brown comes out of retirement. But you know what though? Jesse the Body was funny. His workout videos were good. Like that was actually a good comic relief.
Well, honestly, Jesse the Body is probably the most experienced performer out of
all the goons
compared to all the goons and like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's the most experienced one at playing some sort of gimmick role like this.
It's very true. I was a little hurt that Dynamo did not experience any growth as a character. He was spared, and yet he was still a psycho. I didn't like that. I didn't like the Dynamo. Had no.
I would like a Dynamo prequel movie.
I want to see his story. I want to see how
just to
Sub-Zero
see
did his thing.
Where he was some sort of child prodigy with opera, some sort of.
Turned to a life of shooting lightning out of his hands.
He was the fourth tenor. Something where something went wrong.
And now he has to do this.
Now he's got to do this.
It is. Now, I'm going to tell you this, Cody, without spoiling too much. Thankfully, zero of this is in the Stephen King story that Edgar Wright will be making. There's going to be no Sub-Zero. There's going to be no Buzzsaw, no Dynamo, no Captain Freedom.
Which is going to be hard to get over when you watch that movie.
It's going to be hard. And the book, the one thing I will, kind of the premise of the book, it's far different. It doesn't take place in a city zone that was wiped out by an earthquake. It literally is like that show The Amazing Race. Like the Schwarzenegger character has to survive traveling across the planet while these seekers are after him. That's the whole game show. And so it's going to be a much radically different film. And I think the film is
to its detriment.
Darker.
I think
to its detriment, it's far darker. The book is far darker than the story than what we saw. But man, I'm telling you, 10-year-old me loved the shit out of it. Adult me was like, I'm just going to defer to 10-year-old me for this. I'm just going to defer to 10-year-old me.
It needs to be like 70% smarter. like if it was like trying to do this like social commentary, media commentary, like dystopian commentary, it needs to be way smarter than it is. Because it's
what I never understood.
Does it suffer from trying to do too much?
Yeah, it might be too complex.
Are they trying to do too much?
Should this have been a 4-hour movie? Is what you're saying, Eddie? Could this have been?
I'm just saying, if they had the room to breathe.
Okay, what I never understood was
should this have been 3 movies?
3 films
is what I'm saying.
A Running Man trilogy.
Right.
The first one ends with the Sub-Zero fight.
Right.
That's the big.
Every movie is a boss level.
What I didn't understand was, I still don't understand how, like, Mick Fleetwood was operating the Resistance, like, in the studio of the game show, but nobody, they have no janitorial crew. There's no one that just would maybe bump into him at some point.
Well, no one suspects Mick Fleetwood is running the Resistance, so.
They thought he was done when they took his music. They thought, this guy, we beat him. We broke him. It was... he's just not there. Like, it was just weird how he's in the same set as the game show running his So here's one thing again. Eddie, I hate to do this, buddy. I'm sorry to do this. But Cody, I wonder if you had this question.
Mm-hmm.
Why couldn't have at like 2 a.m, Mick Fleetwood sent like 8 dudes to go get that code that was about 45 steps away from where their base was? Like, why couldn't they have just like, maybe when there was no show on, like maybe when the cameras weren't rolling, you just send a couple of guys just to go run those 3 blocks away and get the code.
Again, I think
Come
this
back.
movie suffers from trying to do too much.
Maybe that was a deleted scene where you saw Fleetwood was just sending a group after
Well, maybe
group.
the original concept was a lot more complicated and involved, and the studio, of course, they jump in and like, no, this has to be. We got to get this in. We got to fit this into a certain time frame. This is too heavy.
And then did I think?
Where's the director's cut of Running Man?
Where's the
is what-
director's cut?
That's
What I want to know is, was this the last I'll Be Back movie? Because he doesn't say it in Predator, I don't think. I know he says it
well,
in
he says it in
Commando.
Terminator 2.
Oh, he does say it in Terminator. Does he say it in Terminator 2? Or just
Yeah.
one? It is. He says it again in
He
part
puts
2.
I think he puts the sunglasses. He says it again in Terminator 2 is a direct callback to the original.
But
Terminator.
that makes more sense. It only should make sense in the Terminator movie.
It only should have been said in the Terminator movie.
Because they have him say it in Commando.
Yeah.
And they have him say it in this. But I will say, Dawson, that's what made Dawson great. Only in a rerun. That was Dawson, he steals this movie. This is the Richard Dawson vehicle. He steals it. He runs away with it. He's such a great slime ball. I also love how he never stops being a slime ball, even when he knows it's over. He's like most Republicans now at CPAC. They're still trying to pretend that like he's still trying to convince Schwarzenegger that it's going to be all right. Like, I loved it. I love that about it. And then that's the only thing I loved about it, watching it again. Now, as a 10-year-old, this is the greatest movie I think I'd ever seen. It took a lot to finally
up there.
topple this one. I don't
up
know.
there.
Eddie, this was probably number one for you for a minute too, wasn't it?
For
Like,
a minute
all-time-
until I mean, Cobra was up there, Commando was up there, First Blood Part 2 was up there,
First Blood Part 2 was up there.
Running
These were
Man was
all-
up there.
These were
they all just kept beating each other.
Yeah. It was just like, God damn.
It was King of the Mountain. That's all it was. It was just a new guy would knock the other guy off.
Oh man. It was But
But honestly, this movie about 3 years ago, Colton he's 11 now. He was about 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And we're at my parents' house watching, and Running Man is on TV. It's on HBO or whatever. And he comes in like halfway through, and he's like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is the greatest movie ever made."
Ever.
And he sits down, and he starts watching it, and he loves it. He's into it. 9-year-old Colton is so into this movie.
Of course.
And then it ends. He's like, "Oh, can we watch it from the beginning?" And of course, he's used to being all just rewind and start it
now
over. I'm like, "No, it's on cable. It'll come back on another time. We'll watch it."
no.
But he's ever since then he's into Running.
Has he ever seen it again? Has he
Yeah.
ever seen it from the beginning?
He loves Running Man. 10-year-old, 11-year-old Colton
10-year-old
loves Running Man.
Look, if you're a dude from 9 to 11 and you first see this movie, it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
It is a fucking master.
Yeah.
It's like the first time you hear Dark Side of the Moon.
You're like, "Oh,
what the fuck?
this is why they invented film."
This is why it happens. This is why they make movies. I mean, I still get hurt when Chico gets his head blown off. I think that was his name. The guy who makes it run for it at the beginning.
This is why D.W.
fucking-
Griffith laced him up every morning.
Yeah, every morning. This is why
Cecil B. DeMille got out of bed because this movie.
he wanted to make this.
It also continues my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger trend, which is Arnold Schwarzenegger's character having the most generic white guy name possible.
Ben Richards.
Ben
I think.
Richards. If you look
ready?
at his IMDb page, it's just like the most white bread name possible.
I'm waiting for Whitey Caucasian to be his next name.
It's like Ted
God.
Jones. Like, yeah, okay, we get it. He's an all-American, just normal guy.
So, are you ready for this? This is some crazy shit. Christopher Reeve was once attached to play Ben Richards.
Ooh.
How?
Wow.
Why? And then, in a 2000 interview, director Paul Michael Glazer says that he was originally approached to direct a film, but declined because he felt there was Paul Michael Glazer said he was originally approached to direct it, but declined because he felt that the pre-production period was insufficient. Director Andrew Davis was hired instead, but fired after 2 weeks because the production was by that time behind schedule 1 week. Schwarzenegger has stated that, quote, "This was a terrible decision to fire Andrew Davis." And he said the director, Paul Michael Glazer, Schwarzenegger said, quote, "Shot the movie like it was a television show, losing all the deeper themes." And Schwarzenegger believes that hurt the movie.
I mean,
So
and
Eddie,
you still
there's
got
something there,
you still got the masterpiece that it was, and then
right?
imagine how great it could have been.
And it's already the best movie we've ever seen. And then look, wow, look at that, huh? Look at that.
Could you imagine Christopher Reeve as Ben Richards?
That's a trade I'm interested in making already. That's interesting to make this.
I mean, there's no puns.
No puns.
All that shit's gone.
All gone. No puns at all. I really would have liked to have seen this Andrew Davis one because he did the only good Seagal movies, Above the Law and Under Siege, and he did The Fugitive, the Harrison Ford Fugitive movie.
Oh wow.
I think him doing The Running Man, I'm kind of bummed.
So basically, this movie suffered from trying to do too much. And the studio jumped in and was like, nope, you can't do all that.
Just like Cobra.
Just like Cobra. Exactly like Cobra.
So
a modern commentary on law enforcement.
So, Cody, what do you grade? Is it better than Cobra?
Yes.
I think so, too. Oh, another thing Eddie and I were saying, like, when in Cobra, when him and Brigitte Nielsen go to that diner, like a Muppet could have been serving him, and it would not have taken him.
If Fozzie Bear is behind the counter, you don't blink, you don't bat an eye.
Sure,
of course he is.
Yes, that's how great Cobra is. So what grade do you give The Running Man?
C-.
Oh! Does Dawson save it that much?
It saves it enough to where, like, it's bad, but, like, if you watch it the right way, like, I laughed at every fucking Arnold pun, and
right.
And so when I'm laughing at the Arnold puns because it's stupid, or like, you know, some of the violent stuff, like in the very beginning where the guy's like head explodes when he's running away and stuff. You know, there's some stuff like that, and then Dawson is legitimately great.
Yes.
I found Cobra to be unwatchable. This is watchable.
One thing too that I really liked that I forgot to say is one of the legit scenes that I think really worked in the film was when he kills Sub-Zero and the entire studio audience is like, whoa.
Like
they're all sad.
It's like when Undertaker lost to Lesnar. It's the exact same moment.
Like, what the fuck? It was fucking, yeah.
By the way, I like how I said C- and your response was, oh, that good? You liked it that much?
I thought this was getting a pure F. I really
did. No.
So, Eddie, what do you give?
Oh, still an A for me. Still an A for me.
Okay. If you asked me in December of '87, this was an A+++. It's an A now. It's been downgraded to an A for me.
I mean, there's a little, there's a little rust on it. It's not mint condition. It's not new in box. So it's an A. I still get all the good feels I get when I watched it.
Still love it the way I did.
I still get all the feels. I still love it. It's one of those movies that I could literally, if it's on TV, I can watch it at any point, and I'll watch.
I'll sit through it. Yeah, I'll sit through it. I'll laugh.
To me, that's the mark. That's the mark of a good movie. If I can turn on the TV and it's on at any point, I'm like, well, I know what I'm doing.
I'm in.
That's a good movie.
I'm with you. I feel the same way about The Running Man. So there we go. And now I'm excited to see the remake, but boy, does Edgar Wright have some big shoes to step into.
Yeah, he does.
Boy, does he have gargantuan shoes to walk into here. But all right, well, there we go. Thank you for tuning in. Next week, Armed and Dangerous, we make trades. Ooh. And then the week after that, are we doing a no-trade Back to the Future trilogy? Do we just do Back to the Future and then 2 and 3, the next one?
Yeah, we could do that.
Cody, how's that sound to you?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, let's do that.
John Candy and Dynamo?
Ooh.
John Candy playing Dynamo.
I'm thinking more Zeus's character for one of them. For Buzzsaw, maybe. We've got to see. We will.
Eugene Levy for Richard Dawson?
Maybe. That would work. Or if John Candy plays Dynamo as Divine. Maybe. We've got to see. Oh, man. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. You know where to find us. We love you all. We'll see you tomorrow for Ramble Radio as we have our brackets.
Oh.
So there we go. Take care. We love you guys. Bye.